Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Welcome to the PVP Weekly Press Conference. As usual, I have with me here our General Secretary. We'll have 3 statements this morning, after which we'll be taking question. Yes.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Good morning. The first statement reads as follows. The People's Progressive Party is deeply disturbed over the high levels of military spending by the industrialized states in the face of growing poverty in the world. The PPP is of the view that a tiny fraction of the money spent on wars and conflict would be more than enough to provide food and medicine for the millions of people who are dying for want of food and medical care. In this regard, the PPP notes with alarm the spread of the deadly Ebola disease that is threatening to wipe out countless number of people, especially on the African continent. The risk of the spread of the disease to other parts of the world is real, and all efforts must be made by the international community to contain and possibly eliminate this scourge that threatens the very existence of the human race. In this regard, we welcome the extension of help by the Cuban government to fight this scourge. The PPP is convinced that, like the HIV/AIDS virus, this disease can be controlled provided the right amount of financial and other resources are made available in a timely manner to the relevant bodies. The PPP is confident that given the will and commitment by the industrialized states, the resources can be found. The party therefore calls on the powers that be to immediately make the requisite resources available to combat this dreaded disease. The PPP takes this opportunity to renew the call by former President Dr. Cheddi Jagan for the introduction of a new global human order in which people are placed ahead of profits. It is this drive for profits by the military-industrial complex that is responsible for so much tension and conflicts in the world. The resources that are spent on war, if diverted to human development, could go a far way in terms of the reduction and eventual elimination of poverty and want in the world at large. It is a collective shame of humanity as a whole that so many millions of people die each year from want of food and water, not to mention the millions of children who are unable to go to school due to extreme poverty. Something must be fundamentally and structurally wrong when nearly a third of the global population is forced to live on $1 United States dollar each day. The income gap between the rich and the poor is getting wider with each passing day, despite the advances in science and technology. The party calls on the relevant international agencies to put in place the necessary mechanisms to give effect to the new global human order, which was adopted by the United Nations. The need to end the gap between the rich and the poor and the digital divide is an imperative that cannot be further delayed. Indeed, there is no reason in today's highly sophisticated, technologically advanced world for any information and communication gap between rich and poor countries. We live today in what is considered the information age, and it is not only desirable but absolutely necessary for everyone, especially in the developing world, to be able to obtain and process information and knowledge, failing which they run the risk of being pushed further into the backwater of individual and, by extension, national development. The party calls on the industrialized countries to take concrete and measurable steps to allow for technological transfer and a more equitable and just information and communication order. In this regard, the party commends the current PPPC administration for having the vision to implement the One Laptop per Family program, targeting in particular the poor and vulnerable, which is aimed at the local level in bridging the digital divide. The next statement reads as follows. The People's Progressive Party welcomes the announcement by Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Lunchan that the Guyana Elections Commission will be further strengthened with the critical support of members of the donor community. The party views this as a most positive development which emerged out of discussions between the government of Guyana and the electoral body. The PPP is pleased that GCOM will now be able to request support from the EU, the UN, USAID, the UK, Canada, and others. The party also sees this support as essential and necessary in readying the Commission for the mammoth task ahead as it organizes for both local government and general and regional elections. We believe that given our recent findings and the concerns raised, the Commission is in need of all the help it could acquire to execute its constitutional mandate effectively and independently. The party will continue to lobby the Commission to address the recurring deficiencies on the preliminary list of electors with the aim of helping GCOM to see the shortcomings wherever they exist and to have them fixed. The party's concerns that have been submitted to GCOM were born out of extensive and intensive field checks on the NRR during the registration exercises and our house-to-house work on the PLE of 2014. The PPP will neither be deterred nor distracted by those who are pursuing agendas other than that of ensuring that all eligible citizens be enfranchised. The party has noticed that the level of urgency and consciousness of GCOM Secretariat and its field staff have skyrocketed, and renewed efforts are being made to ensure that all is well with certain aspects of the list. This is a positive development, which can only result in a truly near-perfect list which does not currently exist. The PPP's resolve is strong, and its focus will continue to be placed on putting systems in place to reduce and detect skullduggery and electoral rigging. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jess. I open the floor for questioning. The usual thing, identify yourself in the media house you represent. Asking the question. Who will be the first? Adam?
Adam, yes, sir. Adam, my news. Sir, you talk about spending in the face of poverty by not putting people first. Using that argument, how can we justify the construction of the Marriott ahead of improving pay for teachers and policemen and other public servants?
Well, I don't think that is an appropriate equation. The parallels are completely different in this sense. If you look at the structure of the budget over the years since the PPPC assumed office, education, health, and security are the three agencies to which the bulk of the budgetary resources are allocated, mainly in the social sector. As you would recall, from the very beginning, Dr. Jagan was very strong on restructuring the budget when we came to office in 1992, because we saw that a large amounts of money was allocated, for example, to other ministries that did not hold importance in terms of social development. And so the budget was restructured to ensure that the bulk of the resources go to the social sector. In this regard, health, education, human services, etc., with security coming almost third in line. So I would say that when you look at the developmental landscape and how the budget has been structured over the years, one can clearly see that the social sector was the principal beneficiaries of the budget over the years, and therefore the disbursement of resources. Insofar as the salary issue is concerned, I think the government has been, especially in respect of the teachers, have been engaged with the teachers' union to arrive at a situation where even though salary increases were not given the importance which the Teachers Association attached, that the government was nevertheless able to provide other benefits to teachers over the years that helped to attenuate the salary issues. And insofar as police is concerned, I think the point has been made time and time again that increases in salaries and emoluments for the police must be seen in tandem with similar increases for fire, prison, and soldiers. Because in the concept of the joint services, one cannot increase that without increasing the other. And that is a total package which has to be examined by the government and the Ministry of Finance.
I think so. But the Marriott is going to chew up what, $58 million US. And at the same time, there are these other areas that we talk about, you know, the teachers, as you say, the social services. They could use that money. Marriott, how critical is Marriott to the development of Guyana?
Very critical, because it will offer a tremendous amount of jobs. Imagine a hotel like that employing a considerable amount of people, skills, bringing a tremendous amount of skills to Guyana, and also in the tourism sector as well. So I think in terms of, you see, development cannot be seen only in a narrow sense. Development has to be all-embracing. And if you look at the other countries in the Caribbean, you will see that their developmental process has not been of the type like Guyana. Guyana developmental process has been multifaceted: agricultural, industrial, human, the services sector, and this is where the hotel industry falls within the services sector, which is a growing sector in the global economy. All over the world, if you look at the WTO statistics, you will see where the services sector is actually the largest sector in the global economy. And Guyana has to be a player in that respect. So we cannot look at the Marriott Hotel as a Marriott Hotel per se. We have to look at it in the context of the services sector and Guyana's desire to play a meaningful role in that sector, together with the other sectors which are performing quite admirably as well.
All right. Next.
Mr. William Dennis, sir, could you say what is the party's reaction or response to the call by Mr. Waisha for the local government to be held as soon as possible? And of course, his indication that he will ratchet up domestic and international agitation. My word, not necessarily his, if his demand is not met.
Well, we have until 12 midnight tonight for the deadline to expire. Deadlines are political in nature, as you know, especially in the context of which Mr. Granger spoke. So that I think everybody is waiting to see, you know, the manifestations of this, how this deadline will play out, both locally and internationally. And the most that I could say is that from the party's point of view, we are on the alert, you know, for any untoward expectations. And we, of course, as a strong support of the government, will be giving whatever support the government needs in order to ensure that no efforts at intimidation or otherwise succeeds in this country.
Does it then logically follow that, that the party does not believe that the demand by Mr. Waisha should be given into?
Well, we are fully supportive of what the President said in his letter. There seems to be some confusion in the opposition ranks, because it seems to me, from what I'm reading, that On the one hand, the APNU is present for local government elections, while the AFC is present for general and regional elections. So that is another issue they have to sort out among themselves. Contrary to what some observers feel, the PPP is ready for anyone. It's not that the PPP don't want any elections at all. We are ready for any elections. You've always been.
But you're not calling them.
Pardon?
But you're not calling them. You're ready, but you're not calling them.
Well, I think in due course, the president will make a determination. That's the president's call. That's the president's call. So, the party is not the party to call the election. That is a presidential mandate according to the Constitution. You see? So when that decision is to be made, the president himself will make that decision. And we will stand by whatever the president says.
Mr. Rui, Mr. Felix, at the weekend you said at the public meeting that your criticisms of the elections machinery so far by GCOM is really an attack on the chief elections officer because the party cannot have its way, or there isn't a mutual support between the party and the chief elections officer since Mr. Guru departed office. What's your reaction?
Last week I said Mr. Felix should hang his head in shame. For Mr. Felix to come out and say something like that, he should hang his head in shame according to the old people. Not hang. Adam would say it in Dembaisa language, you should hang your head in shame. Right? So as Guyanese who know Creolese, I could speak it properly, but I prefer to say it in that way. He should hang his head in shame. Mr. Felix is the man that, as I said last week, and I only repeat it, was responsible for the death of so many policemen under his watch. He was responsible for so many things that took place under his watch. So, what kind of, moral authority does Mr. Felix has to come out and make a statement of that nature? Mr. Felix is obviously trying to pitch the PPP against the chief elections officer, Mr. Lowenfield, or maybe trying to play the race card. I don't know. But he usually up to his usual mischief. But we would not fall into that kind of situation. Our position is very clear and very principled. If we have a problem with any aspect of the elections, preparations, list or otherwise, we will make our views known publicly. We will send our views written to GCOM. We have nothing to hide. We are not doing anything surreptitiously. We have no interest in rigging elections of that sort. We have fought against all those things. And therefore, our position is a principled one. Whenever we encounter any problems, we will write to GCOM about it, and we will make it known publicly as needs be.
And you're not attacking Mr. Lowenfield?
No. Why should we welcome Mr. Lowenfield's assumption to office? We welcome the assumption to office. I understand the commissioners who speak on our behalf at GCOM also supported his assumption to office when the position was put up at GCOM too. So we have no interest in attacking anyone personally at GCOM. We attack the issues. We deal with the issues and not personalities.
Yes, Pushpa.
Yesterday there were some protests in the quarantine.
Did what?
Yesterday there were some protests along quarantine after a fatal accident, an 18-year-old that died. And that area, there's a lot of road fatalities. What is the PPP stance, knowing that it's a party stronghold, that there's that level of aggression and frustration that nothing's being done for security?
Well, I'm not so sure whether the linking of the politics with a road accident is the best way to frame that question, but you're free to frame it as you wish. But I would wish to not entertain the linking of political issues with clearly an issue related to an accident.
But it's not
Yeah.
just one accident,
Madam,
that's the latest.
Madam, allow me to answer the question. An accident took place. We all know the reasons why the accident took place. We all know who were involved in the accident. All the issues are out in the public. Nothing is hidden. Obviously, the police will take action, justice will take its course, and I'm sure that justice, being blind as it ought to be, will find its rightful place in determining the guilty and the innocent. But it has nothing to do with politics and PPP support in that area and all of that. I rule that out completely.
But it brings us to another point, sir. The fire service was prevented from going into action because the people blocked them.
Because what?
The people prevented them from going into action when they wanted to put out the fire on the car.
Mm-hmm.
The people blocked the road, the people did a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember hearing any report on the police response. As Minister of Home Affairs, could you say what the police response was, sir?
I have not heard anything from the commissioners yet, and I think it might be best to direct your question to the Commissioner of Police, who is best placed to answer those questions from a professional point of view. If I answer them, it might seem as though I'm politically inclined to so doing.
Yeah, that's right, too. But you didn't ask him, you didn't ask the commissioner for a reaction, right?
Not as yet, no. No, obviously the commissioner has to have his ranks investigate and the commander file a report to him. I have to give him some time for that because it's only yesterday it happened.
So what assurance can you give the residents in that area that their concerns will be properly addressed as far as the frequency of road accidents is concerned?
Well, the Ministry of Home Affairs has made known to the police commissioner, that it should conduct a highly profiled posture in relation to avoiding many road fatalities or any future road fatalities on all the roads in Guyana, not only quarantine, throughout the length and breadth of Guyana. Road safety, and I was pleased to see also that a road safety committee has been re-established in Berbice. I think that's a positive development, and I think we should equally focus on that as well. That a few days ago, Berbice Road Safety Association was launched. That is a bright spot in the whole scenario which Ms. Pushpa from the Starbuck News referred to. I would like to focus on that road safety associations ought to be welcomed wherever they form, in whichever part of Guyana. And the Guyana National Road Safety Council is given all the support it can by the Ministry of Home Affairs to effectively implement their mandate. The police commissioner has clear instructions, not today or yesterday, from a very long while, from the Ministry of Home Affairs as to the posture that the force should adopt in respect to road safety. And you have to recall that in many cases when the police are very tough, people run to Kaieteur News, they run to Starbuck News, they run all over the place and they complain that the police is doing this and the police is doing that. So, it's like the GRA boss said, damn you do, damn you don't. If you implement strong measures, people complain. If you don't implement strong measures, people still complain. So, at the end of the day, the police have a responsibility to do, and I'm sure the commissioner and the commanders in the various areas know exactly what they have to do. So, if somebody is drinking and driving, if somebody is driving with a cell phone at his ears, if somebody is driving, doing other things, someone stooping down under them and doing all kind of different things while they're driving, beaches or whatever might be happening. All kind of things take place that while men are driving on the road. So, we have to, watch all the different things and know why these things are happening.
But at the same time, Minister Rowley, people in that area are becoming increasingly frustrated about inaction. How will you deal with the political fallout?
I don't know that people are becoming frustrated.
Well, they vented it yesterday.
That might be, no, I don't think they've entered political judgment there. So don't let us go down that road. I think they were upset by the fact that this man was, we had one like that a couple of months ago, didn't we?
Well, my question to you, Minister,
We
if
had,
you- if
we
you-
had one like that a couple of months ago, so I'm not going down that road, please.
If you could allow me, please.
No, if you could allow me to finish. The police had the responsibility to deal with such matters. The Ministry of Home Affairs has given a clear mandate to the police on what to do. If you want to deem the police incompetent, you call the Commissioner of Police and you tell them that, not me.
But wouldn't the party have campaigned on a platform in guaranteeing the people in the area, because it's a PPP stronghold, that you're campaigning on a platform that you want to increase security and increase safety in the area, and people taking to the streets is clearly showcasing that they are not
We have the community policing bodies that have been given the responsibility to do those things. We have the police who have the mandate to do those things. We have the neighborhood police, and we have just put in place the traffic wardens. All these are mandates that we have in our manifesto that we have fulfilled, and we continue to push for them to be done more effectively.
And people taking to the streets, do you think that shows that they have confidence in these mandates?
Well, the question of the police to deal with that.
We'll come back
Is this
to
a
it.
plus for you politically, though? Our agitation session is yesterday, experience session yesterday. Is that a political plus
No.
for the PP?
Let's move on.
So Raymond,
Let's move on to another topic. We're not
Yeah.
getting anywhere with this.
but still in your area of work, a prisoner was stabbed at Mazruni Prisons and died. We had some stabbings in the Camp Street jail. You had an acid attack and some chopping up in Berbice, and you set up a committee that tended a report to you. And a couple of months ago, you promised to give us the findings of this report. Now, with all these things happening in your portfolio, could you tell us what really have you been focusing on?
What have I been focusing on?
Yeah, you got killings in the jail.
Listen to me.
Uh,
I focus on two things. One is the mandate of the Ministry of Home Affairs in respect to the prisons, which is to ensure that prisoners are kept safe and sound behind prison walls. We have adopted, by the way of the Cabinet, a strategic plan for the Guyana Prison Service, which is divided in two parts. One in respect to the custodial aspect of prisons, the other in respect of reforms and corrections at the prisons, especially in respect to the prisoners. We took to the Parliament a bill to amend the Prison Act so that the prison service could be renamed the Guyana Prisons and Correctional Service. The opposition threw it out. I think we must ask the opposition, Mr. Granger, at his next press conference, why he threw it out if he's against prison reform. So I said in my presentation of that bill at the National Assembly that notwithstanding the fact that the bill was thrown out, and we are now not able to implement the provisions de jure. And by the way, I saw a journalist misspelled what I said. They apparently don't understand what is meant by de jure.
who misread it?
I don't recall if on the newspaper, but I have it somewhere.
Wasn't it true?
I don't know who it was, but I saw somebody wrote a letter referring to one of the newspapers having too much bad spellings recently.
That's Freddie Kissouri. Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
But I'm saying that we are managing de facto administratively to carry these reforms, so that we are making progress in that respect. Now, reforms doesn't happen overnight, and we have to work hard, ensure that the prison ranks, the prison officers, whose responsibility it is to ensure that peace and good order prevails within the prison walls, that they perform their jobs professionally and as efficiently as they can. But prisoners are prisoners, especially the hardcore ones, or the ones that are in there for committing of serious crimes, whether on remand or whether having been sentenced to serve a particular period of time. They will always be plotting and planning. They will always have grudges against each other internally, and there will always be all kinds of issues in prison.
Then,
These incidents are most unfortunate when they take place, and obviously with everyone, we have to ensure that an investigation is carried out to get to the bottom of the situation that occurred. Usually when we get to the bottom of these things, there's a whole host of issues that come to the fore.
yeah, the report that you collected 3 months ago on the, 4 months ago on the board, East Shopping.
Yeah.
You never told us what we got, but we heard that it recommended transfers, it recommended the disposal of implements seized within the
Well, I saw the Starbuck News, no, the Kaichou News, in fact. I saw the Kaichou News printed a number of quote-unquote recommendations. I don't know where they got this from.
Oh, sorry, but you can tell us now.
No, I don't know where they got it from. But somehow or the other, they got hold of some quote-unquote recommendation and published it, which I deem to be unofficial because it wasn't officially released to them. But I don't know how much they paid to get that, to get those things. But whatever the price might be, the fact of the matter is, we haven't released anything publicly as yet, but I could say that the recommendations were deliberated upon internally. We invited the persons who were set up to form the Board of Inquiry, and together with the Chief Prison Officer and the Permanent Secretary and others, and we went through each of the recommendations one by one and determined a course of action that is to be taken. The just completed standing orders of the Guyana Prison Service, which is an excellent piece of work done that I haven't seen for quite a long time, a fantastic piece of work done. It was done by a committee headed by a former Chief Prison Officer, Mr. Kilkenny, before he took ill. And that cannot be compared with the standing orders which the police has. As I said, it's a beautiful piece of work. I'm very impressed with it. It is now at the Attorney General's chambers to ensure that all the standing orders that are now compiled into one. It was never like that before, but the AG's chamber is now going through that to make sure that it doesn't conflict. Any of the provisions in those standing orders do not conflict with either the Constitution or any existing laws. Now, many of the recommendations that were made by the Board of Inquiry are in consonance with what is in the standing orders. So as soon as we get those standing orders released, with the blessings of the AG's chamber, then we will be in a good position to publicly announce these standing orders, and we will see how they dovetail perfectly with many of the recommendations that were made by the Board of Inquiry.
So in short, no action has been taken against prison officers, administrators, whatever?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said that a number of the recommendations dovetail with the standing orders that are now with the AG's chamber.
Right.
Those are legalities. Those are legalistic issues which the AG's chamber has to examine carefully. But there are other issues or other recommendations that are of an administrative nature that has been acted upon. Yes.
Yeah, any other question? If not, thank you all very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, sorry, quickly, one last thing.
Yeah.
When we've been talking about the police, we said that the police force was 66% of strength in short, you're 1/3 short. And it has always been the case, you've always been short. What's the staff strength of the prison service?
I don't recall what it is now. I usually get a weekly report on what it is, but I don't recall what it is right now. No, I wouldn't want to. You see, the press is not sometimes really friendly to me. So if I'm misquoted by one, they might say that I'm inaccurate and I don't know what the figure is. So let me just release that later on to be more precise.
Good.
You know,
Dennis?
Adam, you got a fashionable shirt, the man.
why this thing so old? I like it.
We buy it at Macy's.
No, man. Hold on a second.
Okay. Look like the type that them girls is wearing the GTV Indian
Yeah, them